I want to start by paying my respects to the Kaurna people and pay respects to their elders, past and present. I also want to acknowledge any other elders here in this room. And Swanee, thank you for letting me speak today, and to Bill for waving your right. The trade union movement in our country is sounding an alarm. It's time to listen and it's time to act. Working people are crying out for action on insecure jobs and action to bring about fair pay rises. Insecure work stalks the lives of too many Australians. It is often at Christmas where it's felt the most. Too many people are stuck on fixed-term contracts that expire the day before Christmas. Too many people are stuck in permanent casual work. Too many people now have their hours determined by apps and by text messages. Too many people lose all income at this time of year because they have no paid holidays and they face weeks with no income and uncertainty about their future. And because of our wage crisis, families cannot keep up with the cost of living and they can't afford to take time off. This financial and job security crisis affects our spending habits, it affects small business, it affects our tourism industry, our retail industry, our small manufacturers and local business. The alarm is sounding and we must answer the question: do we want a society where paid annual leave, paid holidays we fought so hard for are a thing of the past? The stress of Christmas is not just felt by those in insecure work, but for all working people where wage rises are at record lows and not keeping up with the rising cost of essentials like housing and utility bills. Working people are now cutting into their savings just to keep up, and of course there's the 700,000 working Australians who've lost their penalty rates. And now it's Christmas. Presents for the kids, events with families, taking time off with loved ones is not, for everyone, a relaxing time. The wage increases that will keep people's heads above water have not come through, and many bank accounts are already empty. For many, Christmas is a stressful squeeze. But I tell you who isn't feeling this squeeze. CEOs aren't feeling this squeeze. Their pay went up 12% this year. Billionaires aren't feeling this squeeze. The wealth of billionaires in our country went up by $38 billion in 1 year. And what is $38 billion? You know what? That's our whole federal health bill. That's how much money that is. How obscene is it that anyone could be paid what our top CEOs are paid? No matter what your job, no matter what your skills or your hours, no one needs the millions they receive. But they don't see it that way because they're living in another world, a world where they do not even see us. They do not even see what life is like for the majority of working Australians. And their lives are getting more and more distant from ours. And we feel their disregard and their disrespect, while our frustration at the injustice grows. With our nation's wealth being hoovered up or shipped offshore and not being shared with us through fair pay increases or tax-funded investments in schools and hospitals and infrastructure, we become more unequal. Wealth and income inequality are increasing. Is it little wonder that the Coalition deny there's even a problem with insecure jobs? Because how would they know? Do they even have any mates that work in labour hire? Do they even know anyone who's in permanent casual work? Do you think they hang out with anyone on the minimum wage or even anyone on the average wage? For them, the rest of us are just statistics to be distorted, repackaged and then ignored. And then there is record low wage growth at a time when profits and productivity are up. For them, it might be a puzzling economic problem, but it's not a human one and it's certainly not a moral one. And it really does astound me that they want to deny we even have a problem with insecure work. even when 40% of people are in insecure jobs, even when Australia is an outlier in the OECD with the highest number of temporary work. And how could this be? What about when they do media interviews? Don't they realise the camera person is now on an ABN? The media rooms are full of people on casual work or rolling fixed-term contracts. And what about their Uber driver? Do they ever ask him or her how much they're earning an hour? And what about their cafes? Do they ever stop and think, I took away that person's penalty rates? They must not even see us. People, not just in Australia, but around the world, are reacting against this inequality, reacting against governments who do nothing because they do not even see us. But in Australia, it's a little different. The union movement and the Labor Party were part of making one of the most equal societies in the world. This is not a statistic, it's an ethos, it's a belief, it's our national identity. This is what a fair go means. We created it, the Labor movement created it, we made it part of us. So when Scott Morrison talks about a fair go, he just doesn't get it because he misses one very important word that cannot be erased. The fair go was always about a fair go for all. And people will not tolerate being ignored forever. They will look for ways to make themselves heard, and anger and frustration will find an outlet, and it already is. This is not the direction the trade union movement wants to see our country go, where we are more divided, more separate and more suspicious, where too many people feel angry or hopeless. We want a more friendly, cohesive, generous, equal country where we respect each other, where every generation can be confident and look to something better. And you ask yourself, why did we used to be described as laid back? It's because fairness made us both comfortable and it made us confident. Inequality, greed, unfairness, misdirected blame, this all holds us back as a country. But we, in the union movement, we believe in the fair go, and we will not let the consequences of inequality hold us back any longer. Because we see the obscene salaries and so-called performance bonuses of CEOs at a time when the same CEOs refuse pay rises. We see company profits going up while jobs are casualised. Just last week, we heard once again that 1/3 of Australian companies paid no tax, They're not contributing while their own workers pay for the infrastructure those companies rely on. We see this, the trade union movement sees this, and we cannot and we will not accept it. Delegates, it must be up to us to restore the fair go for working people. The Australian Labor Party and the trade union movement have this shared, unshakable commitment, and we are now called upon to take action to achieve it. We are called upon to stop and reverse the spread of insecure work. We are called upon to ensure working people get their fair share of our wealth, of the wealth of our country. Only Labor can do this, only a Shorten Labor government can do this, and we are ready, the trade union movement is ready, to reach out a hand of friendship and cooperation to every good employer who also wants to live in a fair society. Because we believe in a fair go for working people, because we are working people. Our mates are working people. The Labor Party is a party of working people. Here in this room, there are people from jobs right across our country, so many trade unionists who represent working people every single day. The people in this room have no doubt we have a crisis with insecure jobs. The people in this room have no doubt that widespread wage theft is right out in our community. We know what happens when big business has too much power, as it is us who sits at the bargaining table. We know we will not be able to win fair pay increases unless the system is rebalanced. unless it works so employers cannot just set up new companies to slash pay, to undercut bargains, so workers can actually sit down with whoever holds the purse strings, so the system does not promote a race to the bottom on wages. We need to rebalance the system because we know how out of balance it is right now. And we know this because every representative of working people in this room lives and breathes it. Just like Bill Shorten lived and breathed it every single day. When you spend decades representing working people, you do not forget. I first met Bill in Wodonga 24 years ago. He stood out as a leader then, as someone special, someone who has the goods. What he went on to do as a union organiser and a union leader never leaves you. It forms who you are and your depth of understanding of the lives of working Australians. Like me and so many in this room, he has stood with working people when they needed support the most. He was there when they were at their lowest, taking the desperate calls at night and helping people get back on their feet. He learnt to deal with conflict, to resolve it, and to stand up to the powerful and to be strong when the people need you to be strong. Like all workers' representatives, he learnt about industry and the pressures of employers. He knows what it's like to be accountable to those who elect you and to deliver for those who rely on you. Like all union officials, he understands what it is like when workers have no power, when you lose your job, what stresses people are under when they can't support their family, insecure work, seeing the boss reward himself while he refuses fair pay increases. And I am certain he will have unforgettable memories of witnessing people finding the courage to stand up to bullies. We understand in a deep way also the very best of working Australians, how people react when they're under pressure, if their better natures are allowed to come to the fore, looking after your mates when they're down, humour in adversity, how the difference of religion, race and gender melt away when faced with the need to stand together, the fundamental generosity and capacity of people when we aim for something better. So I want to say to you this: the trade union movement is the early warning sign for this country. We are the earthquake centres in the ocean that feel the tremors before they reach the shores, the siren that wakes you up before it's too late. And we are sounding this alarm now. We see the unfairness. We see the fair go being crushed with inequality. And it's time to listen and it's time to act. And Australian Labor, Bill Shorten, is doing just that. As this chapter outlines, Labor will take action to make jobs more secure. Labor will take action to fix our broken wages system so working people get their fair share in pay rises. Labor will take action to address the gender pay gap because Labor hears working people, understands working people. Labor hears our alarm. We will act together to change the rules, to bring back the fair go for working people. Thank you very much.